And hello everyone, welcome back to another CSS tutorial. In this tutorial we'll be taking a look at transitions in CSS. Now transition in CSS is like the very basics of creating animations in CSS. So let's create a button. Here we have a button with the class of btn, or actually it doesn't even need a class. Now, I'm just going to go here and select the button. So here we have a button. Now, the first thing you need to know about a transition is everything needs a set value once you start. So here you could specify width of, let's say, 100 pixels and a height of maybe 50 pixels. So here we have a button, we gave it a set width and height. And let's give it a background color of aqua. Now to give it a transition, we say transition. We can specify what we want to change. So let's say the width and how long it should take, 2 seconds as an example. Then here we can say button, hover, so when someone hovers over the button, change the width to 50 pixels as well. Now if we hover over it, it will shrink the button to be the same size or as the height. Okay, like that, it will go back. So every time you hover over it, it will animate its way into what you want. Now something you should remember is if we were to add a height here, you'll notice the height itself doesn't transition. That is why we specify width here, meaning only that property will actually have a transition added to it. This is if you want a couple of things to change once you hover over it. For example, you want the pointer or the cursor to be a pointer. But you don't want that to transition, you only want the width to transition. So in that case, only that one value or that one attribute will transition. If you want multiple, you could do something like height. And let's make 1 second. So now both of those will transition. Now you can also change the speed curve of the transition, such as it goes fast when it starts but slows down at the end, or vice versa. As an example here, we can add transition timing function. And we could do linear. Now, you'll notice that it has the same speed from start to finish. Unlike ease is what we used to use, we'll notice the height goes a little bit faster and feels a little bit more uneven. So basically ease, which is the default, will have a slow start, then it will go fast and it will slowly end again. Where linear will have the same speed from the start to the end. So linear, let's have a look at that again. The same speed, it doesn't speed up and it doesn't slow down. If you only wanted to have a slow start, you can have an ease in. Now it will only have a slow start, but it will get faster. Or if you only wanted to have a slow end, you can say ease out. Now it will start faster, but slowly end. And you can also have ease in out, which will have a slow in and out, almost the same as ease. Now if you hover over this, you'll actually notice, or not hover over it, but if you go like that, you'll notice equivalent to cubic Bezier, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, and here it specifies the value that is stored inside of this ease in out. Now, cubic Bezier is so you can personally specify exactly how you want it. So here we could go cubic Bezier, and let's say we specify 1, 0.1, and then 1 again. Now if we take a look at it, it will have its own little function or own little transition. If you want to know more about cubic Bezier, because if I go into it, it will be a rather lengthy topic, you can go to the MDN reference. Let's open that up. And in here you can learn more about this transition timing effects, as here you can see how the Bezier function works. So you can see here, it has a weird transition thanks to this cubic Bezier. And here it will explain to you how all of this works, the syntax, what values you can put in, and so on. So if you want to know more about it, then it's as simple as just going to the documentation. Now you can delay when a transition should happen by using transition delay. And let's say 1 second. Now the transition will be delayed 1 second before happening. When I go off, it will take 1 second and then it will go back. Now another thing you can do is this transition here is basically a shorthand property for most of the transition properties. As an example, we can remove this just so we can keep it basic, and we can split this into transition property with. Now we can remove this. But this on its own, not really something you do. You can use transition duration to s. There we go. Now the width will change. So all of that we basically squeezed into one big transition. As an example, if we go here and say transition, we could specify the width at 2 seconds, and here we can specify what type. So let's just go linear, and you can specify the delay 1 second. Then we can remove all of this except for the background color, of course, and there we go. So you can either have it all inside of one transition property, or you can split this up into transition property, transition duration, transition timing function, and transition delay. It's up to you which one you prefer. If you do this, transition 2 seconds linear 1 second, then everything will be transitioned. So if you don't want something specific to transition, you can just remove the property itself. And then you don't have to worry about just one thing if you want everything to transition. So there you go. So there's a lot you can do here to make your transitions awesome. Later on we'll be getting into animations like building your own, which will use keyframes. But for now, this is a good starting point for creating simple animations or transitions to make your website a little bit more friendlier to the consumer, instead of everything just happening immediately. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next CSS tutorial.